All right, here we go. Oh, let me look at this here. Do 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 do. Okay. That's not what I'm looking here. Give me a minute, folks. Trying to turn the comments on and all that so we can see anybody who's out there watching. I don't know how I'm doing this, so. Okay, well, I guess it's just going to be just me talking, so that's good enough. Okay, so today the purpose of this video, oh God, my hair's a mess. So today the purpose of this video, oh God, my hair's a mess. All right, today the purpose of this video, I'm going to show you how to make fried green tomatoes my way. I'm also going to do some fried squash and some fried shrimp. We're going to see how this comes out. So, let's get this over here and get it set up so y'all can see what's going on. Takes a little bit to get the tripod set up, so y'all just bear with me. Y'all just bear with me here. We're gonna get it all figured out. Get the angle of the dangle and the camera and everything else here, and get it all squared away so y'all can see my pretty mug. All right, let's see how that looks. So here. Alrighty. Well, that didn't work worth a shit. That didn't work worth a damn. We get this all adjusted. I know I'm probably making y'all seasick out there. Oh well, we never said that this was a professional show. Okay. Well, there now y'all can see me at least. So, here's what I have. Now, y'all don't have to have all these gadgets, and trust me, I didn't have them overnight. It took a while to get them all and to amass the things that I have to make, and some of them just kind of make life easier. But if you're doing this, you can do this in a shallow pan with a little bit of oil. And here again, you know, when you're frying, it's a matter of choice what kind of oil you want to use. I choose peanut oil because peanut oil has a high temperature tolerance, so it doesn't tend to smoke when it gets hot. And you want this oil pretty hot, 375, 350. My little fry daddy here has been on for a little bit, and I've got just enough peanut oil to fry in and for the basket. Here you can see it. Got my temperature set about 400, and like I said, it's been doing its thing over there, getting nice and hot. And so we're going to start off. I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do some squash. And now, when I'm cutting my squash, I like it to be a uniform size. Um, I like each one of the slices to be the same. And you could do this with a knife, but I have a mandolin, which makes it a little bit easier. And so I'm going to use my mandolin to cut my slices of my squash, nice thin slices. And I'll show you what they look like here. Actually, I want them just a little bit thicker than that, but that's about what I'm slicing them at right now. I want them actually just a little bit thicker than that, so I'm going to turn the dial and change the setting on this. Get a couple of pans out here. Now I'm doing two kinds of squash. I'm doing zucchini, and I'm also doing yellow summer squash. Let's see, is that the? Yeah, that's about the best I can get. All right. And I'm just going to slice this squash up. Nice uniform slices. These are about the perfect size. All right. I think that's probably going to be plenty. I think we're going to use this last one. Now I'm going to show you this. This is the size that I usually use. I didn't show you the yellow squash, but when you're picking your squash out, you want them about not much bigger than that. They tend to be tougher and woodier if you get them much bigger than that. Okay. So now I'm going to mix up my breadings. Now I've got all my squash sliced here, and they're all ready to go into the breading. Now I'm going to mix up my breadings. Now, for squash, I like Italian breadcrumbs. Okay, so I'm gonna pull that in there, just plain Italian breadcrumbs, and I'm gonna add a little bit of Parmesan cheese to that. Wasn't that much in that? Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more because I want enough to bread all these squash. And now, this all depends on how you guys like your breaded squash. Um, if you're like me, I don't want a real thick batter on my fried squash. I like just enough for the taste. Mix that up real good. Okay. Now, like I said, what I put in here, I've just put, this is what it looks like, just breadcrumbs. Now you can, if you want, Um, mix up an egg with a little bit of water, and then you put the squash in the egg wash first, and it'll help this batter to stick. I don't think that's necessary. Um, these squash, when you slice them, they're going to sweat a little bit, and they're going to get just a light dusting. Now, the less batter you have on them, the crispier they're going to be when you go to frying them. So, now, while we're waiting for that mash to finish cooking, we'll go ahead and put some more in here. All right. And here again, all we're doing, we're just breading this zucchini and squash with a very, very light breading coat. For me, the lighter the okay. So these are coming along nicely. They're starting to brown up real good. Alrighty. Now in another bowl, I'm going to mix up my breading from my shrimp and my green tomatoes. So in this big bowl right here, it's about 2 of them scoops, and maybe 3. So about a cup to a cup and a half, depending on how much you're frying. I got a bunch to fry here, so about a cup and a half cornmeal. Now we're going to let that oil get hot again. Okay, so I'm going to take to the cornmeal that I just put in here. I'm going to put in a generous amount of pepper. And a pretty good amount of salt. Okay. And now to that, to add the crunchiness, here's a little secret that I learned. Add a little bit of cornstarch. I don't know, probably about that amount. I'm going to say a tablespoon for each half cup. So 3 tablespoons, and we'll make it 4. Alrighty. Now we're going to take that and we're going to mix that up real good. And we're going to set that aside because we're going to use that later. Now this first round of squash that I did, it's not coming out crispy like I wanted, but it is cooked. You can see it's kind of browned. And not bad. Oh, that's hot. Okay. So now, like I said earlier, if it doesn't have enough breading on it for your liking, here's what you can do. And I would actually like just to have a little bit more breading. So I'm going to take, because of what I got here, probably 2 eggs. I'm going to take 2 eggs. And I'm going to make what's called an egg wash. So, a couple of eggs, just a little splash of moo juice, just a little bit. Now we'll take our little stir here and we'll mix this up real good. Scramble them eggs up real good. Okay. Now what we're going to do had this squash in the breadcrumbs once already. I'm going to pull them back out because they've been lightly coated. Okay. And now we're going to do a second coat. So we're just going to dip them in and drop them in. Dip them in the egg, drop them in. I'm going to do about, I don't know, a dozen or so pieces. Dip them in, drop them in. And that does put a little more batter, a little more breading on squash. I'll rinse my hands off here real quick. Towel. Flip these over. And all I'm doing is once I get all these coated, I'm going to rinse my fingers off. Now I'm just going to shake this bowl around a little bit. Make sure all those pieces of squash have got a little bit of breadcrumbs on them. Alright, now we're going to come over here to the fire. And we're just going to drop these in one at a time. Making sure that they're not stuck together. So they're not too thick. And now because these have got a little bit thicker breadcrumb coating on them, we're going to let them go a little bit longer. Yeah, see how these came out? These came out soggy, and I'm not happy with them. So we're gonna let those go a little bit longer, and hopefully we'll get some crispy fried out of them. Now I'm not real sure what caused them to get soggy. Whether they absorbed too much oil, or they didn't have enough breading, or maybe the oil wasn't hot enough. Now, if your oil's not hot enough, it will cook them, but they're going to get soggy because they're going to absorb some of that oil. So, and you really don't want that. Alrighty. Now this batch here, they're all floating, so I'm going to say they're done. I want to let that oil sit for a minute, let it come back up to temperature. Okay, this is how these came out, and these came out nice and crunchy and crispy, and they're not soggy. So that's what we did. We just didn't have enough breading on these, so that's okay. That's okay. That's why you do them in batches, because that way you can go back and you can adjust. All right. Right. Okay, so now these are just frying away, and all I'm doing is turning them a little bit with my fork here, so they come out nice and crispy. Alrighty, these are cooled just enough. Mm. Those are just about perfect. A little more breading than I like, but just about right. And these would be real good with some ranch dipping sauce. And you could just as easily do these in an air fryer if you don't want all that oil. Those of us that are health conscious and all that good stuff. All right, now this is be the last batch of my squash. And I try to rinse my pans out as I go along, so I don't have a huge mess to clean up later on, especially when you're frying stuff. All right. Okay. Now, several days ago, a friend of mine and I went over to the local market, local farmer's market, and we picked up, no, these are not green apples. These are green tomatoes. And a lot of people would look at you and go, well, why the hell do you want green tomatoes for? Well, I'll tell you. Because they're a southern delicacy. When I was a youngster, I could not wait for summer. Because Daddy always grew a garden. And at the end of summer every year, now you couldn't touch his tomatoes during the growing season. But at the end of summer every year, after him and my brother had gone fishing a couple, 3, 4 times, they could get a mess of fish, and then Daddy would go down to the garden, and he'd pick a mess of green tomatoes, and he'd slice them, just about the way I'm slicing right now. Oh, he did it with a knife. I'm doing it with a mandolin. Now, with the mandolin, you do get some loss because you don't want to get down to a certain point, or you'll end up taking off a knuckle. Now, when I do my green tomatoes, I slice them about that thick. Okay? That's how thick I want them. And now, y'all know that batter I made up earlier with the cornmeal and the cornstarch. That's my green tomato batter. So I'm going to take those, and I'm just going to drop them in one by one. Now, these I do want a very, very light coating on. You don't want a lot of breading on them because you want to be able to taste the tomato. Okay. Now I'm breading up my tomatoes. Okay. I'm going to rinse my fingers off just a little bit. Okay. This batch of squash is ready to come out of the fryer. We'll throw that there. And I believe we have enough for one more batch of fried squash, so we'll drop these in Get them done real good. All right, now that's the last batch of squash. What I'm going to do with these tomatoes is I'm going to go ahead and bread these, and I'm going to lay these out on a plate and let them set. I'm going to shake as much of that breading off of there as I can get, just so it's a nice thin coat. All right, it's all plate. All right, go ahead and turn this off. Because though they're turning out okay, they're not really turning out exactly like I want. So I'm going to pour about a third of that oil into this pan. Well, that oil's still hot. So it's hot over here, but cool. Basket popper. Now, I'm going to go to the stove top. So what I'm going to do is I transferred some of that oil out of that fryer into my large frying pan, and I got my burner on high. Now that oil's still hot from the fryer, but I want to let it get a little hotter. So I'm going to turn the camera here so you guys can see. All right. Oh, my phone's ringing. Hang on a minute. Oh. All right. Oh. Let me turn this down. Okay. All right. Well, let me get this camera readjusted so you can see in the pan here. See what's going on. All right. How does that look? That looks right. Okay. So what we have here is just enough oil in this pan. And what we're going to do, bring it up to temperature. Now, mind you, like I said, it was already hot when I poured it out of the fryer. I used the oil out of the fryer. So Poured it into the pan, so I just put some heat to it. Now it's good and hot. So what I want to do, and now how you check to see if that's good and hot, is you take a wooden spoon and you put a wooden spoon in that oil. And no, that's not quite hot enough yet. What'll happen is when that oil's hot enough, when you put that wooden spoon in here, it'll bubble. And it's not bubbling. Ah, there we go. She's hot enough there. She's hot enough there. Okay. All right, we're up to temperature. All right, we're up to temperature on that oil, which is a good thing. So now I'm gonna lay my tomatoes in here. One at a time. What's gonna happen is these are gonna fry in this oil. All right, we're gonna let those go. Now, this is how I'm doing this batch. See how thin those are? See how thin those tomatoes are? I like them really, really thin. And that way they fry up almost like a potato chip. These here are not going to be as crunchy. They'll still be good, but they're not going to be real crunchy. So we're going to let them go. Okay. So we're just going to let those fry along. Do their thing. Now I'm going to pour me a glass of iced tea. Alrighty. Just going to keep these going until they start to brown on the edges. When they start to show some color, some change in color, that's when they're ready to be flipped. Then we'll flip them all.
What do you think? Do you approve? Pretty good? All right.
Well, Marty approves. We're going to start turning these one by one. And then they're not really quite ready to be turned. That's okay. Now you want to be careful on turning them because you will knock some of the breading off. You don't want that. So you just need to let these go.
Take a while to fry.
So
I think they're too hot. Yeah. Was that yummy? Was that yummy? Yeah. Yeah, that was yummy.
okay, focus back on our pan here. And we're going to continue to let these go. Flip them over. And like I said, this is a process. That's why we don't do them all that often. This is kind of a treat. camera fell. Well, that ain't no good. Oh, sorry about that. I'll edit that out later. All right. Back to these. They're getting there. Alrighty. Those off. These are just about done. Matter of fact, they are. I'm trying to drain as much oil off of them as we possibly can. And then we're going to set them in the pan to cool. Alrighty, now we're going to go ahead and put another batch in. Now I put a little bit more in there this time than normal because I don't want to be here all night frying. So, alrighty. Let's readjust this camera a little bit here. See this real good. Alrighty, and we're just going to let those go until they're ready to go. And that's all there is to it, folks. We're just going to let them sizzle and do their thing. I know this is probably kind of boring, but this is the cooking process. And this is not a dish that you have to stand over and watch every minute. Just gonna let them do their thing. Maybe turn them every once in a while. I'm not quite ready to be turned. And what I did this time, I kind of overcrowded the pan, but I didn't. I only had a few left, and I didn't want to have to do another batch. So these may not turn out as well as the last ones did, but we'll kind of try to let them go as long as we can without burning them. Oh, Alright, let's check them over here. They're looking like they're just about there. Yeah, they're starting to get crispy. Flip them over here and make sure both sides. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and start scooping some of these out that are done. Alright, these are done. Alrighty. Well, that one doesn't want to stay in the scooper. Okay. Alright, now that's fried green tomatoes. That's what they look like. That's a big old mess of food, but I'm going to have company, so I'll have somebody help me eat it all. Alrighty, now, the same batter that I used for the green tomatoes, I'm going to put the shrimps in. And I'm just going to lay these in here, one layer, little at a time. That'll be the first batch right there. And these are what they call pan fried. They're not deep fried. So you just want to let these go till they get a little bit of color on them. They start to float. They're done. These don't take that long at all. Once they cool down. You get them once they cool down. Alrighty, well, like I said, shrimp doesn't take a long time. That's the nice thing about shrimp. Shrimp fries quickly. And here's the thing with shrimp. If you let it go too long, it gets rubbery. So if you want nice, juicy, tender shrimp, you don't cook them. Oh, that batch is done. So we're going to drop in some more. 2, 3. I can fit just a little over a dozen in this pan. We'll do that batch. Then we probably got one more batch and then we'll wind this video down. Okay, so we're just going to let those go. All right. Well, that concludes this video. That's y'all have a great weekend. Thanks for stopping in.